England's crab player playing against Netherlands dragon player. So the crab player is on Shiro Nishima. No surprises on that. Keeper of Water. Is the stream up? Yeah, it's up. And the splash is Unicorn. We have 3 Wayfinders and two Talisman of the Sun, 3 Spyglasses. So that's pretty classic. Dynasty side, we have 3 Tech Angels and only 2 Guardians. So that's a bit of a surprising choice. Might have been reversed. 3 Borderlands, yeah, okay. All that is pretty traditional. Like nothing surprising at all. And on the conflict side, we have only 1 Katana. There is the 3 Cloud Demons, 3 Watch Commander, 2 Skirmishers only, 1 Assassination and 1 Way of the Crab, so the combo is there. The 3 Fighter and the 3 Mountain, the restricted are the 3 Reboots. We have 1 Censure and 2 Defend Your Honor, so there will be a small pressure on the favor to have the Censure on. But not too much, he still has the Defend Your Honor just in case. And the row is Manicured, Upholding, Meditation, Shameful, and Midnight, so that's also pretty classic. Maybe we could have had a Forged instead of the Meditation, but we don't have Tetsubo, and there isn't that much attachments. I mean, for a crab deck. And on the dragon side, we have Seeker of Void, Dragon, and Crab Splash. Splash being 3 Reprieves and 3 Skirmishers. There is a lot of conflict characters, 2 Ancient Master, 3 Tetsubo, and 3 Skirmishers. We have the Seal of the Dragons, and I guess then the Void Fist as the restricted list, 1 Assassination, 1 Censure. So they're going to be fighting for that Censure. On the Dynasty side, also pretty classic. 1 Enigmatic Magistrate, that's an interesting one-off. 3 Tranquil Philosopher, maybe it's 1 too much. But it's still a really good card. 3 Hitomi, 3 Mitsu, 3 Yokuni, that's a lot of... Well, that's quite a traditional dragon deck apart from a few choices. And the provinces are obviously Sacred Sanctuary when you're playing monks. Vassal Fields is interesting. That's not a traditional one to see. Meditation, Pilgrimage, and Shameful. So that seems to be a bit tucked against Unicorn and Shinjo Ambassador. Like no Restoration of Balance and no Upholding Authorities that both got destroyed by this card. And we're gonna give them the go so we don't keep them waiting. There is reverberation on the audio. Okay, that's weird. Trying to find why. Shouldn't be any though. No, it seems it's good. There shouldn't be one. It's the only microphone on, so if there is some, I don't control that. Is it different from the previous game, Dunzo? Because I literally changed nothing. Don't you have 2 versions of the stream open? Joking. So mulligans happening, both throwing 1 from the Dynasty. So I guess that means they have pretty good flops. And conflict side is 1 for the dragon and 2 for the crab. So crab has Satoshi and Borderlands as possible opening with 9. Dragon has Mitsu, Raitsugu, and Doom Shugenja. Guess we would go either the Raitsugu or the Doom, given that there is a Way of the Crab. I think Crab wouldn't be too happy to Way of the Crab a Defender, I think, unless you have but a lot of fate. Yeah, no, I like that Mantis background. Also, it's neutral regarding the 7 other clans that are yet playable. It's Macmush playing the crab for England. I mean, that's his pseudonym, so I don't know which player is behind that pseudonym. Might be Darren. It's not Darren, okay. Oh yeah, okay, it's you. Well, I'm sorry, I don't know what was your unique. Well, I don't know who it is then. So yeah, Dragon going with with the Doom Shugenja and Crab playing a Free Fate Borderlands. Dragon passing then, so I guess you just like capitalize to get a big character out next turn, maybe two big characters out. That's actually a bit risky because like, well, you avoid giving Crab the passing fate, which I think is good anyway. But you could have played maybe a right Sugu and not taking too much risk there. Well, if he has Assassination and Way of the Crab, you're losing. But it will mean he also has a small conflict character to sacrifice, because he's not going to sack that 3 Fate Borderland Defender for a Way of the Crab. Yeah, I agree, Alpha Squid. Agreed. But that kind of reflects my state of mind, actually. Well, no, sorry. Not happy about Crane right now, but I'm not happy about Crab either. So I cannot really say it reflects my state of mind. Dragon's playing a Skirmisher, giving him covert, and he's going to cover the Borderlands Defender, definitely. Going for Earth, so I think that's, yeah, the only reasonable ring there. What do you want? You probably try to... Do you try to get rid of the Satoshi or the Iron Mine? Yeah, the mine, I guess. Oh, that's upholding, so I think you don't try to break it now. Like, you have 8 cards. Oh, unless you have, like, a lot of not so relevant cards right now. Yeah, that's something we can discuss, totally, I think. Yeah, we see Crab protecting the Fine Katana from the Earth ring by playing them preemptively. Dragon is is passing, so he's not going to try to break that, which makes sense. It's good to have the mine falling on the upholding early, because like, if your opponent can, even if your opponent can break it, like it's not appealing. You don't really want to when you have a handful of cards, especially cards you didn't play yet. There might be a lot of interesting stuff inside. And we see a Watch Commander. Okay, that game started really well for Crab. Like, that Borderland Defender is going to be a problem. It's going to be there for a lot of time, and he already has like quite a lot of stats. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Definitely. Yeah, Alpha Squid. The thing I think about Crane is that like, they're not. There are a lot about forbidding everything, like, and it has reached some sometimes absurd situations. And they also have they might have issues in the current metagame where Scorpion and Crab are pretty strong. But when you think about it, like, the cards like UG are really not they shouldn't have been printed this way. It doesn't make sense. So yeah, we saw the crab player playing passing conflict opportunities, which is totally logical as a crab player. You just want to defend those first conflicts and not attacking into the first turn. Like, you have only one character and no fate to either fight on uh, to fight on if you attack. So you just want to defend those two conflicts. Like, maybe as Dragon here, I would have been happy to pass, not giving him the fire ring and getting the. Oh, I wouldn't have been getting the favor, and we would have been tied because of the Borderland Defender glory. So now, because of Manicured, you get that fate, so you might actually maintain the borderland defender to get the favor if you have a censure already, but that's all that you would get from it. Ah no, you have a conflict afterwards, so that could be good. Like you could do that and attack afterwards. Could be a break for you actually if you do this. You would be significantly down on card though, which is already a bit the case. Like your 4 card downs on your opponents. You don't on fate, but you have a huge board. I mean, you have a very significant board compared to him. Yeah, just defend that. No, we see no mountain, so there will likely not be a conflict for the crab player unless he has a conflict character. But that's probably not going to happen. So it's like that's wasting. Unless yeah, maybe a wayfinder. So we see no wayfinder for the crab player. Storehouse being sacked for the dragon for draw. Yeah, that Borderland defender looks really sexy. Like it has 5 in each stats, six sorry in each stats about a watch commander for honor pressure and 2 fate after the fate phase. So that's going to be really annoying. It's gonna stay more or less like 4 to 5 more turns minimum. Like there is already a mine in play. Yeah, it looks good so far for the crab player. Spyglass being hit is a bit sad, but like yeah, it's not the end of the world either. So Dragon Throwaway is right to good. That's an interesting choice. Yeah, I think you can't do all that anymore with the right to go anyway. And we see both Satoshi and the other Borderland defender going away to get a third Borderland, 2 holdings, and then their Guardian with 8 fate. Well, I guess that's really good for the crab player. Double Kitsuki for Dragon is fine, but it's not awesome in this matchup. Guess you could get rid of the Mountain and Phytons. Mitsu, but you like. Do you take the risk of eating the Way of the Crab if you play a big Mitsu here? Like it's not good. And if the Crab player did put that fate on the Guardian to bait the Dragon player to play a big character, that would be just awesome. Magistrate here doesn't do much either, right? Because it's just odd printed cost. Oh yeah, actually it would. Sorry, it would do a lot. Maybe playing a Magistrate would have been better as the Dragon player here. I know only okay. I read it backwards, so it actually didn't do nothing there. Like, well, it looked a bit like it's been decided on turn 1. So double investigator, 1 fate each. I'm not sure I like that choice because no, like all Crab has to do is just pressuring Void to force Dragon to have to defend or getting rid of one of those 2 investigators at the end of the turn. And there is a fate on Void, so you lose literally nothing doing that as Crab. If you have a small skirmisher, it's the moment where you play it like you convert one of the investigator and just remove a fate from him right now. Yeah, I think that's not good buys also, but the problem is it's like, are you ready to play that Mitsu with like 3 to 4 fate just to see him Way of the Crabbed? Well, I think that's too risky. I really think it's way too risky. You have Reprieve, but the Crab already had a character in place, so you could just Way of the Crab before you could play the Reprieve. Like Dragon had literally nothing, and Crab already had a 1+ character with 1 fate. So I think if you play Mitsu with like 2 fate, then you just Crab that. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, that would be a good way to go. Yeah, definitely. And then you play Reprieve during the turn, so that at the end of the turn, even if the investigator goes, you cannot be crabbed. Yeah, I think that was a way better way to go. Crab going to go military void, yeah, as expected. Found pilgrimage though, that's not so good. But he's already at like 4 skills, so he's lacking not much. And he has converted one of the 2 investigators. Did he? Yeah, he probably did. And he uses the Guardian to break that, to get into break crunch. If Dragon has a conflict character, he might try to defend that. He has 8 conflict characters in the deck. So with 15 cards in hand, you definitely very likely have one. So you might be tempted to just play a conflict character here to try and defend that. Yeah. So that's the monk, so you're likely gonna see Hurricane Punches and maybe a Void Fist. If you can defend that holding, that pilgrimage is pretty good because it's gonna avoid your investigators losing a fate at the end of the turn. And the crab already has much less fate than much less cards than you have. So it's fine if you use a few. Okay, Banzai also works. So now if you're a crab, do you assassinate here? If you have the assassination, do you do it? I think you might, right? You would be I5 now, which would be dangerous, but oh, defending your honor on the second Banzai trigger. That's interesting because then the dragon player has lost an honor and is at 4 against 6. Oh, yeah, not sure it's that good. You could have cancelled the first one. Yeah, I think having the Mitsu with the coverage would have been better. Especially because now he's apparently going to invest quite a lot of fate into defending stuff that turn and start and smashing his opponent hand with the investigators. So like next turn, will you have the economy to play that big Mitsu with a lot of fate? I'm not sure. Yeah, I also think so. Like, well, actually, he might have cancelled only the second one because he knew he wouldn't going to break anyway, and you want to have your opponent losing one honor because it's no big deal until you have all watch commanders on board. Like, at some point, it's going to be big deal against the crab, you know it. Like, unless they never saw the watch commander, but like, there's already one in board on the character that's going to be there forever. And because you're playing a dragon monk, you're gonna want to play more than one cards in conflicts. That matters. So I think it's clever, but only if you knew you were not going to break that pilgrimage, uh, even without the banzai kicking, because you're at 2 against 8, right? So oh, but then you were breaking. Sorry, apologies. Yeah, I'm too tired. Yeah, so yeah, you might have cancelled the first, or you just knew you were gonna break anyway and try it. But with 13 cards in your opponent hands, it's like super unlikely that you knew for sure that it would work. So I think here as Dragon now you're in a super bad position because you lost a fate from an investigator. You lost one of your best provinces in the row. You've invested into a defense that had like literally no effect. And your Yumitsu is gone. And even if you get big characters next turn, you're not going to have the fate to invest heavily into them. Because those investigators are going to want to spend 2 fates on ring. So even if you get like half of it back, that's not going to be super good. You might have reprieves to keep your investigator on board, but then it's another fate on the card that is invested. Yeah, I think as action Johnny said that the buys for the dragon at the beginning of the turn were pretty not good. So what do you do? What do you go for as dragon? Or like You want to go political because you want your yeah, I will tell you, no worries. You want to have both of the investigators firing. So the thing is that if you don't attack political, the crab might not even attack political, and then none of your investigator fired this turn, which is like super bad. But at the same time, you're gonna go with your investigator, and you're gonna lose that conflict, right? And if you don't, it means you invest heavily in this conflict, and then the crab player is probably happy about that. Especially you don't have a Shugen Just, which means you cannot cloud the bottle from there, which means you're like never going to void fist that, which would anyway cost you a lot of honor because of the watch commander. So yeah, I really think it's yeah, it's really not a good position to be in for the dragon player here. Like you could still put both investigators in the conflict, but I mean you would get only one trigger from them. I think buying two investigators with a small amount of fate on each is literally always a bad play. Like, I don't think there is a single situation where it actually turns out to be good. Like everything your opponent has to do is just not doing a political conflict, and then he just negates one of the two characters. And if you put a small amount of fate on them, they're just gonna wave away really quickly. Like being a naked investigator on that Mitsu with some fate would have been so much better. Because then if the crab wants to Way of the Crab, then it's free fate on a card for your free fate investigator, which I guess is fine. Okay, going back at manicured, so I think that's the reasonable choice. You don't want to go blind on something you don't know. So you're giving crab another fate, which isn't really good, and you're going air. Um, Air is netting you a fate, I think, but it's not like you had a fate on the ring. But the ring in itself is not really interesting right now, right? Maybe he just knows he's not going to win that conflict and just wants fate off a ring. But like if Crab has a mountain, well, I think it doesn't matter too much actually. Dragon doesn't have, yeah, Dragon might have another conflict character for a second conflict, but it's like with 7 fates for Crab. Do you ever want to play a conflict character and go for a second conflict after that? Because the chances that you either take a mountain played during this conflict or a Phaeton played during the second conflict are absolutely huge. And very likely the crab player would just play Phaeton. Okay, so we see Investigator investigating. Removing the mountain does not fall, so yeah. No mountain, no Phaeton. Okay, that's annoying for the crab player actually. I think that's a misplay. Crab player should have played mountain first action. Unless he really doesn't care about it, but it's like he has no conflict character. Yeah, I think playing mountain first action would have been correct there. Because now your Borderland defender is gonna get back on board, and if Dragon has some conflict character, he's gonna be able to do a second conflict peacefully. Maybe Water Ring. Well, it's not that good, because next turn there will be free fate on it, and it's gonna be yours anyway. So maybe Earth, just to get some additional card advantage. Like, it's actually a bit sad that Dragon position on board is that bad because he has a good hand. I mean, he has 12 cards against 4. He's in a nice position honor-wise. So it's really all about the board there. Yeah, Crab defending adequately does yield him the favor, which is super good. So what do you do as dragon? You throw away the magistrate anyway, because it's crap in this situation. As crab, do you keep the holding the queen lab? Like, do you take the risk? I would say yes. You have a Hidak Guardian, so he's gonna have like +4 gain, and you have a character to play. So in worst case, even if you keep if you keep the lab, you keep the borderline defender, so that you're not at risk of having a super bad flop. But then you lose one owner. Like, do you want to take? I disagree with that choice. Like throwing away because now you're at risk of having two holdings. Okay, well, that didn't happen, and having Kisada and Witch Hunter here is pretty huge. What do? You play the Kisada or the Witch Hunter? Or both, actually. You can play both with one or two fade, with at least two fade each. Yeah. Dragon doesn't have a really good flop on his side. Incinerant Fields offer is good enough because it's not going to be assassinated, but it's not huge in terms of stats. It's not going to help on the board. Okay, with your free fade Kisada, so it's very likely that there won't be a Witch Hunter played after that. Crab is just gonna pass. So no dragon has to consider whether he passes or plays something else. Doom Shugenja makes sense, like he needs some board and that's just raw stats for a minimum cost. And then crab passes. Yeah. That was obvious. So your first player as dragon here, what do you go for? Oh, me a Mystic additional. Yeah, that's good. You have Watch Commanders to get rid of. Totally makes sense. The one on the borderline defender likely, or anything that would be played on Kisada that would matter could also be discarded. You have not to forget about Kisada's trigger there. And I don't see dragon player winning the first conflict here. Like, it's very unlikely. Crab is bidding a bit low to try to keep some honor. Because he has the Kunilab, it's probably very wise. Dragon keeps bidding 5, like he has 17 cards in hand. But 3 Fate, and I would say literally no board, because he has a few characters, but the stats are not good. They are almost all living at the end of the turn. Like, it's not a good situation. It's quite the opposite of what you try to do as a dragon player, right? Having a big character, especially that Mitsu. You're playing a Void Fist deck, so he's like kind of the engine of your deck, so if you don't have it, it's complicated. I guess you don't have a choice and you go for the Water Ring here. With 4 Fate, you would be just stupid not to take it. Yeah, anyway, sorry, he moved a Fate from Earth to Water, so that was just obviously his choice. But then you're potentially just giving Crab a Fate, right? He has no keepers, but it's still a Fate from the keeper role. Because, like, you're not winning that conflict as Dragon. And sending the Mia Mystic as a military poke just tells it. So I think you're happy about Crab defending with whatever he wants. And you just hope he's not going to have a... You just hope he's not going to have a mountain. Otherwise, you just defend with like the... Okay. Defending with the Guardian tells that he's not going to play a mountain. It's just... It's a bit sad because that might waste the Guardian ability. When you have a +4, it's a bit... Could be used in a better way, I guess. I don't think we're gonna see Dragon try anything here. Yeah. So Crab gets another Fate from that. That starts to be a lot of Fate given to Crab. Like 2 on Manicure and 1 on the Keeper of Water. So that's 3. Of course, every time it's just 1 Fate, but when it adds up... Well, you get 4 out of the Water Ring, so that's fine, but Problem is, if you watch at the board, the crab one is much better than yours. Crab is going Earth. I guess he has to because he has a 10 cards deficit. So you're gonna need to make up for that a tiny bit. With the borderland defenders, okay, that's interesting. Because of the watch commander, I guess. And that's the vassal fields. I guess at that point, losing one fate kind of doesn't matter. And Dragon might feel relieved seeing the fate he gave to Crab handled back to the pool. Dragon, yeah, I think as Dragon you just try to prevent the break there if you can, but you're not going to do more than that. Crab only has 7 cards, so as Crab, I think you don't want to commit here to get a break. Just pass. Okay, Kisedes consoles Vassal Field's ability. I think that's just Dragon forgetting the ability of Kiseda, because like you're likely not going to play a card in this conflict. And that ability would have been useful later, probably, when Crab will come back for the second conflict if he does. Again, not for the fate loss, but just to burn the Kiseda action on the at that time. Ooh, discount Void Fist as random. That's bad. Like you have 17 cards in hand, and it hits the one you need probably the most for your deck. And now Spyglass going on the borderland defender, so that's 2 out of 3, right? Oh, that's 3 out of 3 actually. One has been discarded on the Earthling, and the other one has been let go. And there we see the Mere Mystic removing the third. I think given that Crab has only 7 cards, it's reasonable to get rid of the Spyglasses now. Also means the Watch Commander gonna stay free for quite a time, and that the reprieve will be a problem. But you need to get rid of the Spyglasses in order for Crab not to compensate the card deficit. Cloud on the Kiseda. Okay, so that really tells that the Dragon player forgot about Kiseda, or he would have played the Cloud before, during the previous conflict, and then use the Vassal Field's ability, or you just don't use that ability and you keep it for the next conflict, because no Crab can go freely on the Vassal Field. Going back to Manicured, I guess that's fine. It's been used already. And there we see the Borderlands fought on into the conflict. So I guess as Dragon here, you can only investigate. And after that, Crab goes back with Kiseda. It's political, so it will be only 3 strength, but that might be a problem. Dragon doesn't have 3 strength province, I think. Oh yeah, he has shameful display. So what you would like as a Crab after that is hitting shameful with Kiseda, so that you can just break it for free. Unless Dragon has a conflict character, which is very likely. like just an ancient master to jump into the conflict. And honor while dishonoring Kisada would make the trick to protect shameful display. Yeah, as Dragon, you're like more than happy to pass here. I think like Crab has only 5 cards. If you can shave off the aggression as Dragon and have the game lasting, you might actually come back because like you have an insane card advantage. 10 cards is just very significant. But then you need to build a board, and Crab is going to keep doing the same. Yeah, still doesn't sound good for Dragon. I think next turn as the Crab player, you might have to get rid of the Kunilab. Uh, I disagree with that Void Ring. If I'm Crab, I go Air. There is a Fate. I get 2 Honor, and I keep the Kunilab for next turn. Like, that lab is going him so much stats that you kind of care much more about that than removing a Fate from the Philosopher. Much, much more. Meditations, removing a Fate from Kisada. Yeah, I think you don't care. He's clouded anyway. But you don't break. Yeah, definitely Air would have been better there. Actually, you break, sorry, because of the Kunilab. You're 4 against your. Forgot to count that Kunilab I just talked about. So you force the dragon player to put in an ancient master. And if you have an assassination, then that becomes super awkward because like, oh god, I would have liked to assassinate so much. But you take in the void instead of the air. Okay, court games dishonoring works. If dragon has a court games, it's just yeah. That was likely to happen. And with such a cat advantage, you're very happy to exchange 1 card for 1. Because cards are behaving the same as fate. Like the less you have, the more value they have. So if you get him down to 0, like everything that's happening can be computed just from the board state. And that's a huge advantage. Like you just remove all hidden information from the game. So your last cards are very important. And it's even more important for them not to be dead cards. Because like having a dead card when you have 10 cards is 10%. It's annoying, but it's like okay, having a dead card when you have 2 cards is 50%, and that's just not acceptable. Wait, what happened? Oh yeah, of course, it chooses to remove the fate from the ancient master rather than the philosopher. Well, I guess that makes the void ring a little bit less awkward than it was. But I think then it's a mistake from the dragon player to have actually played that ancient master with a fate. Should have been fateless. Because now he's again fate down compared to his opponent, and he's board down. So yeah, sure you have 9 more cards than your opponent in hand, but like, what are you gonna do with them? Removing the last Kitsuki Investigator. Okay, guess that's a good call. Oh, and finally a Mitsu. Well, I think you go for it there. You don't have a choice, and you have a Void Fist in the discard. So yeah, I think that's the right call. Just play that Mitsu. And we see a first Vanguard Warrior for Crab, so stuff are going to start staying into play where they shouldn't. Yeah, that's the Crab magic happening from there. Like in 3-10, they will still have the same board. Yeah, playing a Yasuki with a Fate, so I guess you keep your Kunilab. Are you gonna go at 7 honor and you just take the air ring? Yeah, okay, that's fine. But I mean, it would still have been better to take void on the previous air on the previous turn, because like you would have had one fate out of air on the previous turn, and now you would have one on void, and you could have void teacher and philosopher, which makes more sense in this order than in the order that happened. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 characters on board with a Cunilab. Yeah, sure, works. That's a lot of stats. This lab is just awesome. It's an awesome card. Like it's a good thing that Crab might have some problems with the honor, because otherwise. Okay, we see Dragon begin 1 against a 4 of Crab. I guess that's fine. He still has a huge card advantage. Mitsu eats the cloud domain. Well, I guess you need to let go that if you have one. But then you're at threat of taking a Censure on that let go. Crab has the favor. Halfway through the deck, Censure not played yet. It's more or less a 50% chance, right? What do you go for? Yeah, you go air. And where do you go? Vessel Field, I guess? You don't have Fate. Oh yeah, you're gonna get a Fate from the earring, so that might not be the right go. Yeah, you can go a meditation with characters that do not have a Fate, and you can totally go for a break given you're bored. And I see no way Dragon is going to forbid that break. Like, there is 2 Watch Commander in the conflict. There's literally no way Dragon is going to even maybe defend that. I think you just don't defend that. Doesn't make sense. You just pop the storehouse, take the break, lose 2 honors. Maybe just 1, because Crab is going to win 2. But you just no. I think defending that is a mistake. Like this philosopher is just going to prevent a 1-1 loss, but you're at 13, so you really don't care about that. Like, sure, you put your philosopher in the conflict, and what do you do now with it? Like, you cannot play a card because you're gonna drain your honor really quickly. If you play a card, it's actually more efficient not to put it in the conflict and take the undefended. It represents less honor loss, and you still have a body on board. 1 more body usable. Of course, you could go water with the Mitsu and stun the philosopher if you can get that water ring, but it's super unlikely to happen. So yeah, you defended the conflict. Crab is winning 2 honors because he was at 4, so that's probably the only good choice for Crab here. Stealing 1 really doesn't matter. And sacrifices the Wolrd so that Borderlands stays into play 1 more turn. Definitely good. So we've seen 1 Iron Mine and 1 Vanguard Warrior used. There is still an insane amount of saves for the Crab player. So I think the world in which the Crab board waves away and allows the dragon to come back into the game just doesn't exist. As a dragon player, what do you do now? Like, there is just no good choice. You can load up stuff on the Mitsu, I guess. But then Crab is just going to defend that. and keep maybe one character to go political afterwards. Like he can keep the Shu Yasuki. It's a 4 strength political conflict. So that would give him the break on vassal fields unless you have something to jump into the conflict. And if he does that, he has a way enough to defend your conflict with the Mitsu. Yeah, seems the dragon player. Okay, it's crab to play. Don't know what the crab player is waiting for. Like, probably doesn't have much to do, right? Apart from passing and letting the dragon player trying to do something. As a dragon there, you might. Oh, it's crab. Oh, sorry. Sorry. It's crab conflict because dragon did pass his conflict, right? Yeah, he did. I think that was the only reasonable choice, but I think it's still a bad choice. Like, if you attack, you get nothing out of it, and if you defend, you still get nothing out of it. Like, there's still a watch commander on the board. Yeah, battlefield breaks. I mean, that's given the strength in the conflicts on both sides, that's not a surprise. Dragon has 14 cards, so you can definitely try to do something. But it's like, for each card you play, you're gonna lose one honor. Given that you have 13, it's not too bad now, but if you want to save that province, you have to get rid of the borderland defender, right? So you actually need to Void Fist him. If you have a let go, that might happen. You just play 2 cards, play 1 card, let go the cloud, and Void Fist from the discard. But you still need Mitsu to have more strength than the borderland. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And your Mitsu is only at 6. Could be at 7, 8 with the stronghold. Okay, so we see him going to 8 with the stronghold. Yeah, that might work. He might successfully Void Fist the borderland defender, actually. But it takes him a let go, which he probably has because he has played only 1. You would need to play another card first, though. And that would be a 2 honor loss. Which is fine. You don't care about 2 honor at that point. It's much more important to save the province. Another thing is that Dragon Clock is. It starts to be a bit alarming. Like he's at 15 minutes left against the almost 30 of the crab player. You shouldn't have a more than 12 minutes difference with your opponent. It's not normal thing. Okay, so you actually can't defend that, and well, I think that's game. Like, I see no way Dragon is resisting a conflict on his stronghold next turn. That's Sacred Sanctuary, so it's 4 strength, and Crab is going to have a massive board. Could just go military with everything. You're still hugely down on card as Crab, but I think the cool new lab is like doing a lot to compensate that. So you probably keep it. You have 8 fates going into the next turn, so you just like buy 1 or 2 more bodies. Dragon is gonna be first, but I mean at that point you might even let him break. He's free break late on you, so if he decides to overcommit to break something, you just let that go and win the game on the stronghold. Dragon discards the swordsmith. I guess with 14 card right now, it's not the most important thing you can have. Triple Hitomi. I think that's too late for that. Guess you play Hitomi and dupe it 2 times. Favorable ground might help, but I mean, Crab also has one, so yeah, it's actually without any effect for Dragon. Another Vanguard Warrior, I guess that's good. And I think you pass a scrap there. You have nothing more to play. Actually, you could hard cast the Keeper. Like you have 7 Fate. Yeah, I think hard casting the Keeper would have been good there. You just put no Fate on it. It's 2 Fate for +2 stats in attack and +3 in defense. So it's totally okay to pay that one. Especially because you're very unlikely to take the Water Ring there. Well, you could take it when you attack the first time after defending from the dragon attack. Could work also. At that point, how many strength do you have on board as crab? Like it's 2, 6, 7, 14, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's like 20 strength on board military. You're at +5 from the labs, 25. I think with 9 cards, you can totally break a 4 strength province. Skirmisher for the coverage. Well, I guess you don't care. You have a favorable ground in the worst case. With 14 cards, I guess you could make that Hitomi pretty much a monster. And Mitsu also starts to be consequential. But I feel like it's too late. If you can shave off that attack as a dragon, survive that turn, and the crab player doesn't have more saves, so that means no rebuild, no reprieve, then you're actually in a good situation as dragon. I mean, not good, but you might save the day. With a bit of luck, you might. But you have to survive a turn, and I'm really not sure that could happen. I'm wondering if there as a crab player you should have bid 2. You would be 4 instead of 5. But you would have had 1 more card to try to break. And you would have taken air first ring after that, or maybe water if you want to get the keeper and stun something that defended. Um, I think I would defend just with 1 character here. Like that's likely going to break. I mean, you're fine with that one breaking, right? You just defend with 1 character, probably the Yazuki, draw your card, and then you just go into the stronghold. Because Dragon is going to have a standing Mitsu for the defense anyway because of Sacred Sanctuary effects. And there will be the Hitomi, so you still have a bit of skill to bypass to break the stronghold. Oh, I think that's too. Okay, you just want to prevent the break here. Not sure it's not sure it's wise because why it might happen here. Wait, Crab didn't use the single Phyton, right? So if Dragon Void Fist, oh, he did use one. If Dragon Void Fist and Crab has another Phyton with 7 Fate, that's going to happen. Okay, Assassination from the Dragon player to discard a Vanguard Warriors. So that's really good because it means that going into the next turn, if Crab doesn't get another save, then the Dragon board is going to be pretty threatening. Maybe we buried the Dragon player a bit too soon. Do you let that ring go as Crab? Like, you would be 9 to 13 cards. I think that's fine. You just, well, it depends. Like, if you have Reprieve, you might want to play them right now. Because if they get discarded, that would be absolutely awful for you. So I guess you play the Reprieves now. And you see what happens, like, whether or not Dragon tries to break. Dragon doesn't. And yeah, we see a first Reprieve going on the Defender. So that Defender has been played turn 1. Unreal like turn 6. Something like it. Turn 5. Yeah, turn 5. Okay. And Crab still has 8 saves or something like this. So he could stay on board very, very long time. I guess you would have to try to keep both him and the Kisada. The Kisada gets his reprieve too, so far for the Crab board leaving play next turn. And he moves in the Borderland Defender with the... Okay, so here is my question. Why don't you put the Borderland Defender into the conflict at first? Because... Oh, he get coveted. Okay, my bad. But then just put Kisada in, right? Keep the Borderland Defender aside, put Kisada inside the conflict, and you still have your favorable ground. Not found about that Stronghold trigger. Like, it's of literally no effect. You're 9 against 17, like, why do you trigger the Stronghold? Well, 9 against 14, but... Dragon hasn't played the cards yet that justify doing this. Mountain on the Borderland Defender, okay, I guess that's good. So now you have Borderland and Kisada going into the Stronghold. But I think you don't have enough, right? Because yeah, you do, because Hitomi is quite a weakling. So she's likely not going to win any duel here. So you're gonna have Hitomi, Mitsu, and probably a Philosopher defending. So I think here as Crab you go water, gets you your keeper, and you stand something, which ain't likely. Okay, not sure about that choice of passing the conflict here. Also means that when you're gonna, well, okay, yeah, it makes sense because then Mitsu is going to not bow after your attempt to break the stronghold when Dragon won't have a conflict left. So if you don't break, the ability is actually going to have no effect on Dragon next conflict because there will be no Dragon next conflict. Okay, that's a good one. That's a good call. Dragon going Void on the manicure, then goes back home with the favorable ground, so just baited the borderland defender into defending. Mm, yeah, that might have been a bit telegraphed by the Void Ring not being as interesting as the Fire Ring. Like, if you intended to try to win that conflict, you would have taken the Fire Ring, right? So with a favorable ground on board, it was pretty clear that you would bring that guy back home. And you had to defend, you had to, in order to be able to defend your stronghold anyway. So no crab is gonna go, and I think you go fire here. Because if you fail to break, then next turn at least the Mitsu is dishonored. Hitomi is getting clouded. Yeah, that's good. So no duel for Hitomi. She could have bowed the Witch Hunter maybe. So well, no, actually you don't care. You just dishonor the Witch Hunter. Yeah, not sure that cloud is worth anything actually. Seal of the Dragon. Okay, interesting. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, okay, it's because he wants to use the Dragon Stronghold on Hitomi. That might be a tell that he has to let go for the Cloud Domain. Like, but then why don't you just let go the Mitsu Cloud Domain? And if you have the let goes, why don't you just defend, try to survive, and then let go the reprieves after the conflict if you can survive without playing the let goes? That's definitely the correct play, right? So I think there you defend with everything. So you're at 4, 8. Well, it's written there 14. So +2, you're at 16. So it's already breaking. Like, that sounds super bad for Dragon. Hidden card though, so you could have a solution here. If you can bonsai Hitomi, then she can do all stuff. But like, dueling would just have the borderland defender losing one strength, I guess. And both both of the characters becoming dishonored, so it's not really good. It's not even good at all, actually. Hurricane Punch on Mitsu, so that's +2. No, it's not breaking anymore. Are we going to see crap canceling that? Seems we are. He's thinking about it. Censure or defend your honor there? I think censure is better. It's less risky. Defend your honor, okay. So it's Kisada versus Mitsu. So it's an 8 to a 7. To an 8, sorry. Well, that's bad because Dragon can just like decide to pay 1 honor to get that. Oh, sorry, he has, yeah. Um, I disagree with that bid 1 from Dragon. Like, okay, there is a watch commander in the conflict, but like, giving 1 honor to ensure that card is not useless is better than losing 1 honor from the watch commander and having the card discarded for no effect. Another Hurricane Punch on Mitsu. Still breaking by far. 24 to 16 to 18, sorry. So as dragon here, you need like 3 more at least to prevent the break. You've played 2 cards though, so you can totally get rid of someone using a Void Fist and then it's fine. So we see another fine getting outplayed on Hitomi. So you know need only 1 strength to tip the balance. Okay, let go in the cloud so that he can place the Void Fist from the discard. I think that tells the crab player that the dragon player doesn't have anything left but that play. Because if you could go another way, then you would, so that you could discard the reprieve at the end of the turn. If you use the let go on the cloud rather than the reprieve, it's because you have no other way to prevent the break. So as a crab now, you more or less know how to navigate that. Like, can you do something with your 3 cards left to ensure the break? Nonetheless, the Void Fist happening. I think you can't. Okay, and now we see a Banzai. Okay, that's super weird. Like, if you're gonna Banzai Mitsu, why letting go that cloud? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. You just Banzai, keep the light goes to remove the reprieve afterwards. I think he just realized that he had not enough strength to Void Fist something with the Mitsu, but I mean, oh yeah, he should have. Yeah, that was weird because he had 10 strength, so he could have Void Fisted Kisela, for example. Yeah, that's super weird. That's a conflict full of arguably bad choices for the dragon. Because like now you have a standing Mitsu that gives you the favor, and you could have had at least 1 let go to remove a reprieve from your opponents, probably on the border on defenders, so that he goes away from play. And what is this Ancient Master like? Okay, he wants to get the favor. Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like you're ensuring the favor for yourself. You didn't play your Censure, so maybe he has the Censure in hand. No let go, so okay. So I totally disagree with let going the cloud on Mitsu. Well, that wasn't the cloud actually. Sorry, what did it let go? He did. Okay, Crab did play another let go after that. Well, actually, changes nothing. Like you can just bounce eye. Yeah, I know. Still, for I just saw it, but I mean, the thing is, like, he let go the cloud, thinking he would play the Void Fist from the discard, and he got let go again. But he had a bonsai in hand, and there were 2 reprieve on board. Like the correct play here is to play the bonsai to be 24 to 24, and then if your opponent cannot break anymore, you have your let go to remove one of their characters by discarding a reprieve, right? I mean that's how I would have done it. No, I'm not neither a dragon nor a cloud player, so that might be wrong, but I think that would have been better. Because you would have hopefully got rid of that borderland defender. Yeah, that's it. You just try the Banzai, see what happens. If he breaks, then you try to get the Void Fist out. And if you can't, then anyway, problem solved. If he can't break, you have to let go for the reprieve. Because now, like, this board with or without that tower is not exactly the same. It's still threatening from the crab player, we agree, but it's At least Dragon came back on board, but like he has no break. 5 minutes left. I don't think you can disown the crab player here. Like he's first, could he could take a first conflict, and you can dishonor him. You you cannot ever go to the stronghold and break it as Dragon here. It's just like the game is lost from the start, and you're just making it last. But at no point you really had a chance to win it. Maybe if it lasts like 1 more hour, Dragon might finally win it. But even then, like crabs still have, I don't know, maybe five saves. Rebuilding the iron mine. Okay, I disagree with that. Totally disagree with that choice. You rebuild the Kuni lab there, not the mines. Okay, we see a censure going off. So maybe that was just a bait for the censure. Because the way the dragon player did play the Ancient Master at the end of the previous turn, especially to get the censure, the favor, quite was a tell of him having the censure. Yeah, he only plays one, but I think the thing is he had it in hand. I know he doesn't have a console anymore. No, I mean the bait is good. That's what I was telling. It's like you can deduce from the dragon play that he very likely had the censure. So that rebuild might have actually been just to bait the censure. But you still rebuild the lab, right? Censure or not. You might go into the next turn with all your board leaving. Dragon is never gonna hit your stronghold because there isn't enough time left on the clock. So there's no reason not to rebuild the lab and just try to break. It's +6 strength. Finger of Jade on Itomi. What's that for? Preventing the covert, I guess, from Shuichi. Yeah, Johnny, it's still going on, but it's like it's just dragons slowly dying. Yeah, rip. It's been quite a time that dragon is dead. Yeah, there's no way he can pull that off. Like he has to break 4 provinces or to dishonor a crab player that is might go air first ring. So yeah, that's it. There we see the air ring. I mean that's the only choice that matters right now for the crab player. It's like even if he doesn't break the stronghold, he wins on time. So he just has to avoid dying dishonored, and the best way to do that is just taking 2 honor from the ring. I think you just like drop your brain and all in military with all your board as a crab player here. And if you have one rebuild in your last 3 cards, you rebuild the Cuny Lab, and I don't see what the dragon player can do here. You might have the third let go to remove the cloud from the Yokuni. But that Yokuni might be coveted actually because it's clouded. So if you had the let go, you would have played it beforehand. So yeah, you just covered whatever you want, probably Yokuni. Yeah, right to go also works. Like it avoids taking the risk of having a character discarded from play by right to go tool. And Dragon isn't taking much risk with that tool, so yeah, I think that's also a good choice. Thing is, I think there is no Katana left in Dragon's deck, so we would have to play a Banzai on the right to go to make the duel worth it. And we've seen the two Banzais already, so I think he has no relevant military boost for that right to go. Yeah, political is a huge mistake. Like that should be military. It's like, oh, if I go political, then the skirmisher cannot participate in the conflict. Great. Dragon has actually much more military strength than political. Yeah, okay, I see why it chose political. It's because Dragon gonna need to boost military to have some voice fist firing. So using the political just avoids that. It makes awkward boosting military for the voice fists. The thing is, it's not a conflict that is going to matter later on the number of cards used. Yeah, Dragon only has 4 strength in political. Yeah. He got one rebuild console just before, and he was rebuilding a mine rather than the Kunilab. So having hypothesizing that was a console a bait for the Senshu, because it was obvious from the Dragon's play at the end of the previous turn that he had the console, and he has only one in the deck. But the thing is, like, you just try to, like, why choosing the mine just because it's closer in the list and you know it's gonna get cancelled. And what if Dragon doesn't cancel it? Like, I mean, it would have been better just to rebuild the Kuni Lab at that point rather than the mine. Yeah, I know. What do you do? Like, Konomitsu, sure. Then you need to play another card if you want to void fist something. So there comes the Seal of the Dragon, and we're gonna see the void fist. The dragon is reaching a dangerously low honor count. He has to have a void fist, right? We saw only one from the whole game. No void fist. Oh, that's sad. I think I think military or political there made absolutely no difference. Yeah, literally nothing. Yeah, well, yeah, I think turn 2, Dragon should have played the Mitsu. Well, it would have been clouded anyway, because Crab had the Witch Hunter to cloud the Mitsu. And he had the cloud too. Well, I'm gonna let you here. Have a nice evening, guys, and thank you very much for watching the stream. And see you next time.